Hello everyone, welcome to the channel and welcome to the workshop. I hope everybody's having a great day. So one of the reasons that I started this channel is just to simply share information and knowledge. I do things around the farm and in the workshop on a daily basis. And it's menial stuff, it's kind of rudimentary stuff, but to a lot of people, it might be stuff that you don't know how to do, or you are trying to figure out how to do so you don't have to have somebody else do it. And I love doing stuff like that, and I do things daily like that I don't record. But once again, one of the reasons for this channel is to try to share some information and share some knowledge. And I'm not a subject matter expert on much of anything, but I'm just a normal guy, and I like watching YouTube. I love learning stuff. I have done more things by myself just from watching YouTube and watching other channels and watching other people do things and learning from them, and I enjoy it. I learn from it, I take away from it, and it actually usually helps me on something else, which helps me on something else. And anyway, so today the project is working on a chainsaw. So this is one of the Husqvarna chainsaws I have. It's a 455, and I broke it out for the first time in a while. It's only a couple years old, which is kind of disheartening on one of the reasons why I have to, or one of the things I have to fix with this right now. But it doesn't have a lot of hours on it, doesn't have a lot of miles on it, and anyway, so broke it out the other day. This is the primary saw that I use for my small mill. I have a 20-inch bar that I put on this, and I have a small chainsaw mill, and haven't used it in a while, so it's been sitting. So that's probably problem number one, but even because of that, I don't think that this should have necessarily gone bad. So anyway, I broke it out, started doing just general maintenance because I haven't messed with it in a while. This thing has always leaked bar oil, which is another thing that I need to fix. But I poured gas in it, and as soon as I started pouring gas in it, which is sitting on the side when I'm pouring gas in it, which the carburetor's up here, started having fuel immediately just gushing out. So stopped. I poured the gas that was in it back into another container to try to save some of the gas and not make such of a mess. So I had to tear this thing apart, figure out what's going on, and it's difficult to see. I'm going to try to shine maybe a flashlight down in here, but there are two holes. There's two black holes. There's one there and one there. And the one on the right has a hose in it that goes to the fuel pickup line, and the one on the left is one of the, basically it's like the pressure line that runs back to your bulb, your primer bulb. Okay, so you have a line that runs to the primer bulb from the fuel tank, which basically when you're pumping this, you're pumping pressure into the tank, pressurizes the tank, helps push fuel up through the pickup line and into the carburetor, which is where this other line on the right over here runs out of the fuel tanks, the pickup line, and runs into the carburetor. So this line is the, once again, one of the primer bulb lines. So whenever I get this stuff out of the way, I'll put this stuff on a piece of paper so you can see it better. But basically, whenever I pull the cap off and I look down in there, this line, this end was attached to the primer bulb, but this end was not attached to anything. And that actually used to go down into that second hole, which goes into the fuel tank. It had basically completely been disconnected. Looks like just basically fuel line rot. And this was what was loose floating around in the fuel tank. So I pulled that out of the fuel tank, and this is what got disconnected from the primer bulb. So I need to replace this fuel line and push it into the fuel tank, which seems like a pretty easy task, but anybody that has pushed fuel line into a fuel tank knows that it's not as easy as you might think. So first thing I did, I ran and got some supplies. I bought some fuel line, and let's try to get this fuel line into the fuel tank. I have done this before in another saw, and it is not very easy, and there's a few little tips and tricks. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are watching this that have done it also, and there's more than one way to do this, but this is the way that I've tried to do it in the past. It's worked out for me, and let's get this done. Okay, hopefully everybody can see this, and I've got it on this white piece of paper here, so there's a little contrast of the color. So basically, you need a utility knife. Be careful not to cut yourself. But this has to be pushed into that line, and obviously it has to go in there, but it also has to retain enough seal after you push it in there so it doesn't continue to leak. So you're kind of fighting two things here. You want to get it in there and easily get it in there, but once it's in there, it doesn't need to be loose in there. So the other thing too is if this is not rigid enough, it's difficult to push it in there. If it's too soft and flimsy, it won't want to thread into the hole. So one of the things that I have done in the past is basically you taper the hose line. So with a sharp blade, cut the hose line so you've got the start of a point. But it has to be, your taper has to be long enough, because you're going to have something to reach into the fuel tank and grab a hold of this. So you're going to have enough, this taper is going to have to be long enough that you can push it through and then also have something to grab a hold of. Now, obviously, you're wasting some line here. So when you buy some line, buy enough that you can cut some of this end off, because I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to snip this end clean and then put it back into the tank. So now that I've got this halfway tapered, and you can't cut off too much, because when you reach in there with tweezers, or I'm going to use medical forceps, you'll end up pulling this apart and pulling that off when you're trying to pull it through the tank. So this is kind of going to be difficult to film, but I'm going to thread this down. I've got some medical forceps that will go into the hole, and I'm going to try to push these into the hole with the line, basically, and it'll help kind of push it through. And then I'll take my cap off, I'll reach into the back of the tank where it comes through, grab it with my forceps, pull it out, snip this end clean, and then the excess line up here I will pull back through. All right, because there was only a couple inches of this bad line that was hanging into the tank. That's all it really needs to be in there. Okay, let's try to film this. Okay, I'll illuminate the bottom of this with a flashlight. Hopefully I can get most of this. So, tapered end, put a little bit of grease on the line so it'll help pull through. Got it started. I'm going to take these forceps. You can actually even use, if you've got like a straight point, push into the plastic. See, that one went in pretty good. It's going in good. All right, so I think I got it in enough. Actually, using this worked better probably than the forceps. So let's look into the fuel tank, see how much is hanging down, and we'll try to pull it through. So it's very difficult to see. Let me try to move my camera a little bit. So I'm trying to get the light down in there best I can, but you can see the tip of the fuel line hanging down in there. And I'm going to reach in there with some forceps and I'm going to pull it through. I bought these long forceps. Let me zoom the camera back out. So I bought these long forceps for just like $10 on Amazon. And they're like medical forceps, but I use them for all kinds of stuff around the shop. And one of the main reasons I like to use them for stuff like this is because I can pinch on to it and then lock it, and then not have to continue to hold pressure. It'll hold pressure itself. And then just then I was using it to kind of pry and then pull, and I don't have to worry about continuing to hold pressure. It's holding pressure itself. Okay, I'm going to use these shorter ones now. I'm going to go ahead and pull it on out. Now I'm going to cut a clean edge on that line. So basically everything I tapered, I'm going to clip that off. I'm going to flip my saw back over. Now you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing here, but basically I'm going to shine my light down into the gas tank, and I want to pull the line back just a little bit. I'm not going to, I mean, a couple inches left in there is fine. All right, there we go. So then the chore is, and that's actually one reason why I wanted to have a little bit of excess, because this line runs underneath the carburetor and the intake up to where the primer bulb is. So with my excess line, I'll be able to run that, grab it with the forceps from the other side. This stuff is all tucked in here nice and tight, and it's a little bit difficult to work on this saw and this carburetor. So I'm gonna run it back across where I can see it. It's hard for you to see, but now I think you can see it on camera. It's back over here on this side. Clamp my forceps. And once again, if you clamp onto this and you mess up the hose, you've got plenty of excess. That's why I always have excess. I'll pull my line through. And then I'm gonna have a little bit of slack in there, but I'm gonna clip it right there. So I marked whenever I took this off too. I marked with a little paint marker. So there's two nipples on this primer bulb, and this longer nipple of the two, if you can see that, it is the one that gets hooked to the new line. The other one gets hooked to this line that goes back to the intake. So I'm going to push this through. Basically, it came out as a clip. I'm going to put some forceps on this just so it doesn't fall back down. And I need to get that other line on. There we go. And this line back on, the longer. There we go. The only thing that I took off to do this is that there was a air filter here, and the linkage for the throttle linkage was kind of in the way for me to get back in this corner. So I took that off, and I took the air filter off, and the little boot that goes down in here. That's it. That's all I took off, besides the primer bulb. All right, so let's put that back together and see if it works. Idiot. So this blue tab right here is just a catch that basically, if you can see down in there, the throttle linkage, if I can shine a light maybe, the throttle linkage sits on the end in that little groove, and this blue plastic piece is just a catch. So to get that off, just grab a hold of it with this tab and just gently pull out, and it lifts up and swings out of the way, and then you can pull your throttle linkage out of that little groove, and then just push it back and it snaps back in, and it works. Okay, I'm not going to put the bar back on because I have a problem with this oiler and I ordered some parts, so I'll fix that later. So I'm just wanting to put fuel in this, make sure it won't leak, hold fuel, start it up, make sure it runs, and then we'll work on the oiler at another time. Appreciate everybody watching the video today. If you enjoyed it, or if you got something out of it, please give me a thumbs up or like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm trying to get some subscribers going for my channel so I can keep making content. Leave a comment if you want, and share the video also if you would like to. And I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day. Remember to measure twice and cut once.